Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're taking a pretty dense, highly detailed business study and transforming it into a clear, focused look at a fascinating company, Yasho Industries Limited. Now, if you track the specialty chemicals sector, you know that finding an established player sitting right on the cusp of a massive, non-linear growth phase, well, that's incredibly rare. But that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
So just to immediately wrap your head around their scale, consider this number. Yasho boasts over 30,000 metric tons per annum of installed manufacturing capacity. I mean, this isn't some scrappy startup trying to figure out their product market fit. No, this is an established manufacturing heavyweight with serious infrastructure already in the ground.
And they definitely aren't just a local player restricted to the domestic market. Their global footprint actually spans over 50 countries. This immense reach gives them a massive 65% export revenue share. And why does that matter to us? Because it provides a brilliant hedge against localized economic downturns, and it lets them tap straight into highly lucrative hard currency markets all across Europe and the Americas.
They power this impressive global reach with an arsenal of over 100 proprietary products. Honestly, think of these products as the absolutely critical yet completely invisible ingredients in everything from your car's tires to the cooking oil sitting in your pantry right now. Without these incredibly complex chemical formulations, the everyday products we all rely on literally wouldn't function.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. We're going to cover 1. The hidden chemical champion. 2. Industrial and consumer verticals. 3. The DeHage expansion catalyst. 4. Moats and macro tailwinds. 5. Financial profile and risks. And finally, 6. The strategic verdict. Let's dive in.
Section 1. The hidden chemical champion. Established way back in 1985 by the Javeri family over in Mumbai, Yasho definitely hasn't stayed small. They've evolved into this incredibly agile, globally respected manufacturer. But how do you actually win the trust of top-tier multinational clients? Well, you embed yourself right in their backyard and you play strictly by their rules. Yasho is heavily supported by direct, wholly owned subsidiaries in the US and the Netherlands, which allows for that absolutely crucial just-in-time delivery. Plus, they are armed to the teeth with stringent international certifications. We're talking Europe's REACH, the US FDA, kosher and halal compliance. This paperwork isn't just bureaucratic red tape, it is quite literally their VIP passport to global trade.
Moving on to Section 2, Industrial and Consumer Verticals.
Now, strategically balancing a business model is key, and Yasho nails this. The vast majority of their revenue, somewhere around 80 to 85%, comes from industrial chemicals. That provides fantastic high-volume structural growth. But they cleverly anchor this with the remaining 15 to 20% in consumer chemicals, and that slice provides high-margin resilience, especially during industrial down cycles. It really is a beautifully hedged product architecture.
Diving a bit deeper, Yasho operates across 5 core verticals. On the industrial side, you've got rubber chemicals, lubricant additives, and specialty chemicals. Then, on the consumer side, aroma chemicals and food antioxidants. The big takeaway here is the intense level of backward integration and the sheer variety of end-use industries they serve. We're talking everything from vulcanization accelerators that stop massive industrial conveyor belts from tearing apart, all the way to food antioxidants that keep your pet's nutrition fresh.
The crucial point to remember is that Yasho's complex chemical syntheses are the invisible force keeping our modern world moving. Their additives might make up less than 5% of the total cost of an end product, right? But if they fail, the entire product breaks down. You don't see their lubricant additives inside your car's engine, but they are the exact thing preventing the oil from completely oxidizing under extreme loads. It's wild when you think about it.
All right, Section 3. The DeHage expansion catalyst. For years, Yasho operated out of their legacy infrastructure in Vapi. Now, Vapi is great. It has a 12,500 metric ton capacity, using flexible, multi-product batch synthesis reactors. It's super agile, but it's not massive scale. Enter the DeHage Greenfield expansion. This is a sprawling 42-acre campus that adds 17,500 metric tons of capacity. And it's not just more of the same. This is a massive structural shift to high-volume, continuous, automated production designed specifically for advanced lubricants and rubber chemicals, complete with zero effluent discharge standards, a total game changer.
In fact, as the research explicitly states, this specific expansion is exactly what elevates Yasho from being a mid-tier niche manufacturer into a highly competitive global bulk specialty supplier. And why does this matter? Simply put, Tier 1 international oil majors and massive multinational tire corporations won't even look at you unless you can guarantee large volume supply assurance. Dahej officially gives Yasho a seat at the big table. Which brings us to Section 4, Moats and Macro Tailwinds.
You know, customer stickiness in the specialty chemical space is incredibly high. Getting approved as a supplier is a totally grueling marathon. Because these chemical additives are mission-critical, they require intensive lab testing, which is then followed by real-world field testing before a client finally issues a qualification. The whole process takes a solid 12 to 24 months. Once a client qualifies Yasho, the switching costs are simply too high, and honestly way too risky to change suppliers just to save a few pennies. That right there is a massive competitive moat.
Furthermore, Yasho is perfectly positioned to capture some massive macro tailwinds at exactly the right time. Global conglomerates are aggressively executing China Plus One and Europe Plus One supply chain strategies, which directly benefits integrated Indian players with the exact kind of scale Dahej offers. Add to that the huge rise of electric vehicles demanding advanced synthetic e-fluids, which require higher doses of Yasho specialty antioxidants. Couple all of that with global infrastructure growth driving heavy truck tire production and a surging demand for packaged food safety. You literally have a perfect storm for growth.
Next up, Section 5, Financial Profile and Risks. Their financial targets are definitely robust. Historically, they've maintained a really strong 60 to 65% export revenue share, ensuring very stable hard currency flows. Operationally, they target healthy 14 to 18% EBITDA margins, supported of course by their high-margin consumer products and proprietary industrial formulations. But the real magic number to watch here is the asset turnover. As the new Dahej unit ramps up to its peak utilization of around 70 to 85%, it's expected to drive a massive 1.5x to 2.0x asset turnover. That is going to unlock some serious operating leverage.
However, we've got to impartially ground this story in reality for a second. The chemical business is tough. Yasho's primary feedstocks, things like phenol and aniline, are derived from crude oil, meaning volatile raw material prices can absolutely squeeze their gross margins. Furthermore, with such a heavy reliance on exports, they're highly exposed to foreign exchange fluctuations and geopolitical freight disruptions. But perhaps their biggest, most immediate risk is execution. The full financial benefit of Dahej depends entirely on their ability to swiftly secure customer audit clearances and volume offtake agreements. If that ramp-up is slow, the financial drag will be heavy.
Finally, Section 6, the Strategic Verdict. When you look at the summary assessment from the sources, it's clear Yasho has put in the hard work. They've successfully addressed their previous capacity bottlenecks. They've built the complex chemistry base. They've set up the global subsidiaries and secured all the vital accreditations. Right now, they are uniquely positioned as a vital bulk supplier, totally ready to serve global manufacturing giants.
The research actually concludes that Yasho's multi-segment resilience, balancing that high-volume industrial output with high-margin consumer goods, makes it a compelling compounder in India's specialty chemicals ecosystem. It's really a fascinating story of a business methodically building out the exact infrastructure required for non-linear scale.
Which leaves us with a final, fascinating thought to consider today. As global conglomerates actively and aggressively try to diversify their supply chains away from single-source dependencies, will Yasho's massive Dahej gamble definitively crown them as the world's new go-to specialty chemical champion? Only time and their execution will tell. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope it brought this complex, fascinating business model into sharp focus for you.